Chromatic notes, yes, they exist, and they can exist and not sound completely terrible. Approaching chromatic notes should be something that's on your mind. You don't want to play chromatic notes, because that would just sound like... No, you don't want to play chromatic notes. You want to approach them, and as such, you want to lead them. So you may have heard the term approach notes. This is the exact concept to apply to the chromatic scale. Generally, you're going to use a shape that you're familiar with. In this case, I'm going to use the minor pentatonic scale, since we all love that one, right? And the places you can fit chromatic notes are everywhere that I did not just play. So there's some, there's one, there's one, there's one, there's a couple, there's a couple. So in between all the chord tones of the scale that you choose is where the chromatic notes lie. Now, approaching them is the key, and this can also be phrasing, things like that. You don't want to have fixed chromatic notes that you're going to hit, because then it'll sound kind of contrived and not natural. So something like this has room for chromatic notes, but approaching those chromatic notes tactfully is what I want to aim for. So I can see this is the minor pentatonic scale. I'm putting in a couple little flavor notes, like this, the 9 there, heading up to D minor third. And right here, of course, flat 7. So, with this framework, not a lot of room, right? Unless... So, as you can see, I'm not playing. That is what I consider playing the chromatic scale instead of using it, or using it to approach other melodies in your guitar playing. So, up close and personal, let's take a look at what I'm doing. Here we have the B flat minor pentatonic scale. Now I'm including the 9 and the major 6th, which I bend the 9 up to the flat 3rd and the 6 up to the flat 7. So we have something like this. You don't have to necessarily copy me, but these are the notes I'm choosing. So something like that. Anywhere you end, it doesn't matter what goes on in the middle. Just know I'm starting here and ending here. So I'm in the pentatonic scale. You can just play something like whatever. Now, here's where the chromatic notes come into play. So I am using this full stretch of notes here on the G string, but I'm not playing it like that. I'm not doing that lame stuff. Sorry if you think that's cool. So here we go. Now you can go, like I said, I'm approaching it from that side or from that side. So you can hear on its own, it's from the chromatic scale, even though only these two notes are in our minor pentatonic shape. So now I'm always returning to this approach, no matter what's going on with the right hand and the notes in between. So that is the basic concept of approaching a chromatic note, is that I have my target notes, and then I approach this note. Now, I can move from this note using more chromatics. With the chromatics removed, it would sound like this. But I'm throwing in chromatics, remember? So I can do that same thing on these strings. But it just matters that I'm approaching these notes and leaving them. I'm not. So it makes it more fluid sounding. So the whole thing put together might sound something like this. So in the end, the key to chromatics is approaching them with proper chord tones in mind. So you're not necessarily going to want to, unless you're going to be sure to end on something that is pleasing to the ear, because generally chromatics are only used to build tension so that you can release that tension on something that sounds good. In summary, we have a nice minor pentatonic lick. We fill that note in with chromatics where appropriate, so that way we do not take away from the tonality and we don't get too far out there, as is easy to do with the chromatic scale. So just simple as that. Now it's really helpful in a context like this to create kind of hybrid scales between the minor pentatonic and the chromatic scale. Let me show you what I mean. So we know this is our B flat minor pentatonic scale. Now, let's put in a couple chromatic notes so that way we can have, you know, just a little finger exercise, a little muscle memory. So how about... And here we have the 8th fret if we want that 9th sound and that major 6th sound. So let me zoom that in for you. What I came up with, and this is just an example, you can make your own. We have the 6th fret, the E string, starting there. So with that newly constructed scale of ours, that is where I will draw from when I am trying to implement chromatics into my guitar playing. And of course, this is only one position, but we're going to use that for an introduction, and there will be more lessons on chromatics across the neck, but really this concept applies. It's just taking a scale shape that you're very comfortable with and understanding where the chromatics fit, where you can approach those chromatics and get away from them without anyone getting too suspicious. Hey, that doesn't sound good. Oh yeah, it does. So that is it, my friends. I hope you enjoyed this lesson on throwing some chromatics into your guitar playing. If this is something that interests you, this kind of music theory, check out my course, Guitar Super System. I've had hundreds of students sign up in the past week or so, and it's just growing every day. I'm really excited about it. There's a link in the description for you guys here on YouTube to check out. It goes over the major scale modes, chords in the major scale, how those modes apply over those chords, arpeggios, different intervals and understanding their relationships with each other, triads, and of course how to infuse all that knowledge in your guitar playing. Please check it out, sign up, join the fun, and I'll see you guys next time.